Back, everybody. Happy New Year. Hope you all had an amazing holiday. I did. Okay. We would like to acknowledge that we are privileged to meet on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Squamish and St'át'imc Nations. The first item is the agenda. We're going to amend the agenda to defer policy 202 to the February meeting. So if someone would read that recommendation with the word amended.
That the amended agenda of this meeting be approved.
Second.
And so that was, thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Lisa. All in favor? All good? Okay, great. Number 2, the minutes. We also have a recommendation there.
That the minutes of the policy committee meeting held on December 10th, 2025 be adopted.
Thank you, Lisa. And a second. Thank you, Cynthia. All in favor? All right, great. Number 3, trustee items. Okay, seeing nothing. Number 4, information items, the 2025-2026 policy review schedule, and that looks like it's Danielle. Go ahead, Danielle.
Thanks. There's no changes from the last time we met. I just wanted to give you an update on the elections bylaw. So the last time we met, we were hoping to have it ready for this meeting because we were waiting to find out where from the individual municipalities where the postings were going to be for the elections. But now we found out we also have to put in the exact dates of the advanced polling. So we have to get that from each one of the municipalities, and I don't think they've all officially finalized that schedule. So we just have to wait to get that from, so it could be in the next meeting, it might be. They finalized their.
All good? Okay, moving on. Number 5, discussion items. We've deferred policy 202. So now we're going on to policy 204, trustee code of conduct sanctions. And again, that's Danielle. So go ahead, Danielle.
Okay, thanks. So the changes in pink are the new track changes from the previous version that we looked at in December. And the blue ones are from the previous version, the one that we looked at in December. So Chris and I both worked on the updated version. I'll leave it open for the questions once you have anything else with Chris.
No, just that again, we really appreciate Danielle's work, and we thought we had this wrapped up, but some recommendation to go to Harrison Co, who was looking at all school district sanctions to make sure certain things were in there and apparent. So we appreciate their help, but at the end of the day, these are your sanctions. So looking forward to discussion with the fall.
Okay. I guess I will open it up for discussion then. Okay. Thanks, Celeste.
Thanks. Oh, it's been very good. It's expecting to be able to tonight. I'll start by saying what it is, but.
So my feedback on this policy is I just kind of made bullet points of the things that stood out to me. So it had stated in several places, things like where a trustee believes that another trustee or the complaining trustee. And then in another section of the policy, it states that the complaint can be initiated by either a trustee, the superintendent, or the secretary treasurer. So I'm happy to share with you a version of the policy that I think addresses this issue so that it's just whoever the complainant is, because the complainant might not be a trustee. So just taking that into consideration. I also found the draft to be probably a bit more wordy than is needed in certain areas. So again, I'm happy to make recommendations on how to remove some of the words that I felt were unnecessary. I found that the section on informal measures wasn't as clear as it could be. So my feeling is that we need language that will promote resolution at the informal stage, because anything beyond that is going to take up resources, money and staff's time. So my recommendation would be to not say that the chair or vice chair may speak with the respondent, but that they will speak with them and that we will work towards resolution at that stage and do everything that we can. I also felt that the confidentiality provision should be moved to the application section because it really applies to both informal or formal resolution. Same thing for timelines. I think that timelines should be moved to the application section, because there should be timelines for both, whether it's formal or informal. If something is worth bringing up, it's worth bringing up in a time. And even the uninformal and the resolved, I think is still quite serious, so there should be timelines on either type of complaint. The criteria for. Oh, the criteria that should be have to be submitted with the complaint, I think should be moved to the application section, because it just should apply to both the formal or informal. Something may start out in the informal resolution process, but may actually make its way to the formal resolution process. So I think having that criteria for what is needed with the complaint should be like right there at the beginning, whether it's a, minor complaint or something that could end up being more major or insolvable at the informal stage. I just think having that criteria, like all of these things have to be submitted with the complaint, the section of the policy, what happened, clearly in writing, the section of the policy that was breached, any measures that were taken to resolve the issue, that sort of thing. And then if it does end up going to the formal process, that stuff is already there, like it's just there right from the beginning. And then I think that there has to be a provision for if the chair is the complainant. That wasn't really clear in the policy. It sort of was written as though the chair would be the resolver in many instances, even if they were the complainant. And I think in those kind of situations, it really would be more appropriate to have the vice chair be the one to sort of manage resolving the complaint. Yeah, so the chair can't be involved in developing the resolution if they are the complainant. And then the other thing that I noticed is it didn't say that the person doing the initial review of a formal complaint, whether it's the chair or the vice chair, would have access to legal counsel. So my recommendation in my draft is to have that explicitly stated. So whether it is the board in a hearing trying to figure out what the resolution is, or simply the chair further up trying to figure out what the resolution is, it should be clear that they should have access to legal counsel. And it didn't say that explicitly. I'm assuming that it was maybe implied, but I think it should be said explicitly. And then we need a provision for referring to an external investigator if a problem cannot be resolved internally in the formal stage. So I've made a proposal to include some language like that because I think that that is really important. And then I think the board hearing process, or I think it was called the deliberation process in the original draft, just needs to be more clearly outlined. Just make it really clear, plain language. It doesn't need to be complicated, but when you're going through a messy process, you need to be able to be like, these are the steps, and we can clearly understand what's happening next. And then I think that it's really important to have some kind of stipulation that the board be able to read any investigative report that may be involved in the process at least a week or so in advance. Like with those sorts of reports, you're going to want to have time. You're not getting it on the day and then having to make the decision on the same day. So that's my recommendation. And then the conflict of interest section included in the draft, I found confusing. I think that it's just meant to have the complainants and the respondent recuse themselves from any deliberations around resolution. So I think it just might be easier to say that only, if you are a complainant, you're not going to be involved in deliberating about the resolution. And then, yeah, the last note I have is just thank you again for your work on this. This policy is so important. When we have to use a policy like this, things are going to be messy and difficult. And so we just need to make sure that it is written in a way that will make an already difficult situation as easy as possible. So that's my feedback, and hopefully to forward on written feedback on the policy.
Okay, thank you, Celeste. Any comments from trustees?
Thank you, Celeste.
Okay.
I think everything that you said makes sense. Mhm.
And Chris, would you like to weigh in?
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to add, did you say in your opening comments that this, like this copy, like this version that we have had gone to legal and this is what they came back
Yes.
to? Because I think it's important that we acknowledge that this, like the language in here is legal. And then I'm wondering if there's a way we can take the suggestions that Celeste has made and incorporate those into like this document, because I know you wrote a theme doc, which is great, but I would worry that maybe some of the legalese maybe gets missed. Do you think there's a way the two can be combined?
I think that any final version would have to be done through.
Mhm.
Way that it.
Yeah.
That has to be, I think, good, and I do want to acknowledge that I know that what has been done. Through the legal counsel, they can also things that are not going to sue us as best as they possibly could, but there's no. A policy like this.
Yeah, okay, perfect. That's the only thing I would be concerned about is that if we just, because this is like really easy to read, like.
Thank you.
know.
There's
And it's super clean and everything, but then. and then when I
There
read
could
the
be
other-
errors or legal
Yeah,
applications.
Yeah, then when I read the other, I'm like,
100%.
yeah, like they're so different, okay, so
Yeah.
as long as. it-
And again, just for the record, we just took what the lawyer, so that's what we wanted to bring it to you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I appreciate the work to make it more clear.
Yeah.
The one part that I know we do have to ensure that it's in there, I recognize you, but acknowledge that you've written in about the deliberation part for the camera. That when doing sanctions, that the board would make a motion of whether staff would be present, I think the superintendent. or the
That's the
treasurer.
original.
Well, what's interesting about that is we checked it out because it just niggled with me because I know the secretary treasurer has a responsibility to the board and I don't have to be there. But the secretary treasurer does, I think it's part of their role
Mhm.
is that fair process and all those pieces. So
Except if I.
unless the complaint
They're
is
in
against you, then you have a designate.
If the
That's right.
secretary treasurer is in conflict, a designate.
So we would love to make that change. And then if the board is supportive of Celeste's suggestions, we can then put that together and send it back. The legal just to get the tick off and then we'll bring it back.
The only reason I had included it was because it was in the original, I
Yeah.
didn't really, like, I thought it might be about dignity and the vibe. This turn.
Okay, Cynthia has her hand up.
the only other thing I wondered, I think it's who can bring forward a complaint, should the student superintendent be included in that? To bring forward a complaint?
I think just to be clear, I think the reason that it's not is because depending on future, not all districts have
Right.
assistant soups and
On their
have
board.
them as table officers. So for clarity, what do they say in legalese for sure, whatever that language is, what they'll say is table officers. So maybe that's a thing we can put to the change, make change, it shouldn't say secretary treasurer or superintendent, it's table officers. Cause that really means the people that are on the table. Will that
Makes
be
sense.
amenable to people?
Mhm.
Hang on, Melissa. Yeah, Melissa has her hand up.
I just had a question. I don't think we need an answer, but it just sort of like was in the back of my head where it's like errors of judgment made in good faith. Who decides good faith? Because if I think that I'm making an error in judgment in good faith, it might be very different than what Celeste or Cynthia thinks is their good faith. Like, what if my good faith is actually evil?
I took it out.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
The one thing, just to respond to Chris's question about whether it should say table officers or not, I think in the original draft, it said the complaint can come from anywhere, but it has to be submitted by either a trustee or you two. And I think that there's like, it provides some sort of level of protection. Like I think a table officer or any employee could bring a complaint to one of you and say, I need you to bring this forward. So you might not be bringing a complaint forward on your behalf. I mean, a trustee could bring a complaint forward on behalf of a member of the public potentially, right? Like, so it's just, I don't necessarily know that it's problematic that it's Chris or Danielle or whoever's in those positions, because you could bring a complaint forward on behalf of any staff member, any member of the public, or potentially on behalf of something you've seen in terms of interactions between two trustees, potentially. So I don't know that it's a problem.
No, I agree, thank you.
And it also creates like a barrier. It's like another level of like, if an employee were to come to you, you could maybe have a conversation, like it's a barrier for, not that I believe any person in here would bring a serious complaint, but it's a level of like, okay, let's talk about it. And then if you feel there is merit to the complaint, you bring it forward on the basis.
Yeah. Thank you. That makes sense.
Okay. Cynthia, go ahead.
One thing that kind of niggled on me a little bit is under sanctions. One of the sanctions that is written is that the person who has done something wrong will be required to attend meetings electronically rather than in person. I wonder if that could cause confusion for the public, because we welcome people to attend our meetings electronically on a regular basis. So if people were watching a meeting and they saw someone coming in by Zoom and they might happen to know this policy, would they think that that person had been sanctioned and that's why they were coming in electronically? And then that might just make, it might just get the perception that he's done something wrong. Why would they do that? They've been sanctioned.
Sorry, I cut you off, that was rude.
No, that's.
I wouldn't think that. If someone was on Zoom, I wouldn't automatically think that they were in trouble. I would just,
I wouldn't either, but
Yeah.
if you were really familiar with the policy.
Go ahead.
While there's a possibility that that could be the case, it is so unlikely that I think the harm that could be caused by removing it from the list, because it's something that might need to be contemplated as a remedy in a difficult situation. I think there's more harm in removing it and then people forgetting to contemplate that as a protective factor.
I thought that's my part. Yeah. And I just thought I'd put it out there for discussion. We can do with it as the group feels best.
Believe it, you're not also required in policy if there was a censure to make that public. So when we
Yeah.
read about, there was a recent one in a district, I went in the district, but it was, they had publicized the person was not allowed to attend
Yeah.
any, they were off of committees, they weren't allowed to attend any school events, they were only allowed to attend board meetings. I can't recall if it was a prompting or not, but you actually have to publish, so someone who is Cynthia, very aware of policy, you would also hope they would have probably
True.
been hopefully, right, someone who attends board meetings virtually and has information, so.
Yeah.
I think there's things in place for that,
So.
because you could also extend it to say, well, if someone didn't attend a school learning plan, oh, they must be in trouble, right? So we don't, I agree with
Yeah, yeah.
Celeste, I think it's too problematic not to do it
Yeah.
the other way, because we also want to have that flexibility of attendance where you can.
Lisa. go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it could also be that you recommend that the person that submitted the complaint be at home to prevent further
escalation.
escalations and things, right? So that could be something else that's decided. So it's not necessarily the respondent. It could be the complainant that is making a choice to,
Yeah, fair.
by the board, to be at home rather than in presence.
Okay, any more thoughts, discussion? I'm just worried that if this now, I'm thinking that this now is going to go back to the lawyer, or I'm guessing we're gonna have to make a recommendation on that. And I don't know enough about the legal system. The lawyer is just going to look that they're not gonna look for anything we've missed or anything that has been taken out that shouldn't have been. They're just looking at,
Yeah,
they will do that.
Yeah, they do.
Okay,
That would be our asks, it's really.
Okay. I was just worried because I know lawyers often will just look for the legal pieces and maybe if we were deciding as a board to take something out, they wouldn't necessarily make a comment on that, but you're thinking they would.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. So are
We
we,
have another.
okay, go ahead.
So, by like with the removal of the conflict of interest piece, it's taking away the ability for anybody else that has a conflict of interest to be removed as well. So that's actually been, not to put that back in. And also, it's possible that somebody can raise a complaint saying, I witnessed something else and they actually are part of the complaint. So that has to go back. It's a bad situation.
Any more?
Oh, I think everything
All
else
good?
is-
Everything else looks good? Okay, so are we looking at a recommendation now that I'm thinking that we're going to put the two together. Celeste, with the pieces put back in that you were concerned about and then head it to the lawyer.
So I don't think you need,
Don't need a recommendation for that?
unless actually maybe we should consider the rest of the board. Agree.
Okay,
But we can-
are we all in agreement? Yes, yes. Okay. Moving on. All right.
Danielle and Celeste, that was a lot of work. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's my
Friday
favorite.
night, Friday night fun.
It was a lot of work reading the two,
Oh my.
or the
God.
three,
Yeah,
with the original, this one and this one.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah,
I was
That
like,
was-
this will take 15 minutes, no hours.
okay, moving on. We are now on. Policy number C, which is now B, policy 707, retention and disposal of school district documentation. Danielle. Oh, I need to bring up.
Most of that was actually updated by Chris, but really there's nothing significant there. It's mostly just cleaning up the formatting. And. There's anything else. But it's
Yeah, no, there's been no other legislative changes since the last time we reviewed it. It just wasn't in our current formatting.
it's minor changes.
So this is all, yeah, this is all in accordance with.
Different rules,
So,
yeah.
my only
Very
comment.
dry but important.
My only comment on this one was that it could be on one page, and then I looked up the finished documents and it's on one page. That was my input.
Any other comments? Anybody? All good? All right. Moving on to number D. Policy 705, security of school district assets. Danielle.
That one's super simple and there was very minimal changes there as well. So I think when it comes to the personal information, that'll be safe. We substantial. I think the privacy one near is.
When is it? Is it this year? You come.
Yeah, it's this year.
Yeah. Okay. All right,
That's the one that references the video so that it's in.
Yeah.
right.
In detail.
So that one I'm running by lawyers as well. What's required.
Okay. No comments. I guess there's no action items. So that takes us to questions of clarification.
Action items will be, there will be a motion required. Related to bringing these forward to the open board meeting.
Okay,
I need,
we do need an action item here.
Archie's work.
Okay. Here it comes. Okay. Tell me when we're ready, Archie. Okay, so Archie's ready with the recommendation. Is somebody ready to read the
That the
first?
policy committee recommend the Board of Education approve policy 707 retention and disposal of school district documentation and 705 security of school district assets as discussed.
And thank you, Lisa. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Melissa. All in favor? Okay, are we good? Okay. Carried and no more action items. We can move on to number 7, questions of clarification from the public. Nothing there? Okay, so I guess we can declare this meeting adjourned. Next meeting starts at 1:30, so we have 30 minutes.
Some of it in camera or something, like just